A big test and a loss tonight for Donald Trump's influence as voters in Virginia elected a Democratic governor.
The Republican candidate relied heavily on the Trump playbook and hoped it would send him to the governor's mansion. In the swing state of Virginia, Democratic Lieutenant Governor Ralph Northam has defeated former Republican National Committee Chairman Ed Gillespie. You take a look there at the numbers, 54% for Northam, 45% for Gillespie. Now, Gillespie relied heavily on Trump's playbook in his campaign. Northam's margin of victory was the largest for a Democratic governor in Virginia in 30 years.
KCAL 9 political reporter Bryan joins us now. Dave, a lot of people want to make this a referendum on President Trump.
Well, we'll see about that. You know, it's been a long time since the Democrats had something to cheer about, and finally they got their turn tonight. So now the question is, why did this happen, and what does it mean for the future? Well, there was definitely a Trump connection in this campaign. But, on the other hand, the Republican candidate didn't fully embrace him, although his campaign TV ads in the closing weeks certainly may have left that impression. To say Virginia Democrats were fired up about tonight's decisive victory in the governor's race and rubbing it in President Donald Trump's face would be an understatement.
We don't need dividers like Donald Trump. You have sent a message tonight, not simply to the voters in the Commonwealth of Virginia. You have sent a message across the globe to South Korea. Donald Trump, you don't stand for our values.
The exuberance reflects that the Democrats haven't had many victories lately, and this one had special meaning because the Republican candidate embraced Trump campaign tactics against his opponent. In his TV campaign ads, he pledged not to tear down Confederate monuments.
I'm for keeping them up, and he's for taking them down. And that's a big difference in November.
And he accused his Democratic opponent of favoring sanctuary cities, which there aren't any in Virginia, and warning it would lead to a dangerous wave of Latino gang crimes and violence.
Yet Ralph Northam voted in favor of sanctuary cities that let dangerous illegal immigrants back on the street, increasing the threat of MS-13.
In return, President Trump posted a stream of tweets embracing Republican Ed Gillespie, including this tweet accusing Democrat Ralph Northam of fighting for the violent MS-13 killer gangs in sanctuary cities. But on Monday night, Trump did a 180, tweeting out from South Korea, Ed Gillespie worked hard but did not embrace me or what I stand for. Don't forget, Republicans won 4 out of 4 House seats. And with the economy doing record numbers, we will continue to win, even bigger than before. Some Democrats are touting this as the beginning of a resurrection for their party.
We're coming, we're competing, we're organizing in every single zip code. The new Democratic Party is back.
But Republican strategist Reed Galen says one bad night is hardly enough to say the party is now in decline, even though they're facing some problems.
First-term presidents typically lose a great number of seats in their first midterm election. Secondly, the Democrats are well ahead in what we would call the generic ballot, I believe, by 15 points over Republicans. We see a number of Republicans retiring, and frankly, the Republican Congress has little to nothing to show from a legislative or policy perspective to really help make their case on why the American people should keep them in charge next year.
Professor Larry Sabato from the University of Virginia Center for Politics tweeted his pundit friends to please stop attributing this Democratic landslide in Virginia to changing demographics, saying VA hasn't changed that much since last November 8, when Hillary Clinton won the state by 5%. The bigger explanation, he tweeted, is a backlash to Trump and Trumpism, pure and simple. And there was one other notable development in Tuesday's voting.
I'm Danica Rome. I'm running for office because my identity shouldn't be a big deal.
For the first time in the history of Virginia, voters there elected a transgender person to the state legislature.
There are millions of transgender people in this country, and we all deserve representation in government. LGBTQ kids everywhere will know they can succeed because of who they are, not despite it.
Now, Danica Rome, who you saw, defeated a longtime Republican legislator who reportedly declared in 2006 that he was Virginia's chief homophobe. Rome won about 54% of the vote tonight, about the same percentage that Hillary Clinton won in that district in the 2016 presidential election. Jeff?
Of course, Dave, Democrats want to make this into some momentum for the midterms. You think this will have any sort of change on the midterms?
You know, it's hard to tell. It's still a long way before
Sure.
we get to the midterm elections, and there's a lot that's going to happen between now and then. I think the largest extent, it depends on how much President Trump is able to get done and what he gets done and whether the rest of the country goes along with it or not. But it certainly, at least for the moment, gives the Democrats a little bit of momentum and the opportunity maybe for a fresh start in the next 18 months or so, you know, before we get to those the midterm elections. Lena?